Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, the most recent movie adaptation of the very successful novel by Tom Clancy, currently starring Michael B. Jordan in the title role as John Kelly slash John Clark, and is airing on Amazon Prime. I saw it last night, so I'm going to give you my review of this. But first, let's jump into the background of Tom Clancy. He's an author that created such characters as Jack Ryan, as you know, in the very successful movies The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, The Sum of All Fears, Clear and Present Danger, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, and currently the very successful Amazon Prime series, Jack Ryan. And I quite enjoy that series, and it's on Amazon Prime. So John Clark, the character, had actually been featured in the movies before. So we had seen John Clark first in A Clear and Present Danger. That was a movie starring Harrison Ford as Jack Ryan. And in that movie, William Dafoe was John Clark. And then in The Sum of All Fears, where Ben Affleck portrayed Jack Ryan, we saw Liev Schreiber in that title role as John Clark as well. So we'd seen him before in a couple different roles, two different actors. This time around, it's Michael B. Jordan. So let's get into the actual novel itself. The novel came out in 1993 by Tom Clancy and centered around John Kelly slash John Clark, a Vietnam Special Forces soldier in the 1970s, and his wife and baby were tragically killed in a car crash. He then went on to have a relationship with a hitchhiker he picked up named Pam, who we later learned to be involved in the drug trade. She was addicted to drugs, and he helped her try and get away from that lifestyle. Unfortunately, the gang caught up to her and John Kelly and tragically tortured and killed her and left him for dead, essentially. So the novel surrounded about his mission of revenge going against this gang using his special forces skills. So that's the novel in a nutshell from 1993. So let's jump into this movie. I consider this movie what's called a fresh reboot. What I mean by that, it's a different type of John Kelly that we haven't seen before. Michael B. Jordan's in the role. He's a great actor. I'm a huge fan of him, obviously, from my love of Rocky and Creed. He currently is Adonis Creed in the Creed movies. Creed 3 on the way out, too. So, great actor. Physically fit for the role. There's no doubt about this. So it is a fresh reboot. This time around, we have him as John Kelly. He's recently married to a lady named Pam. So there's no hitchhiker like in the novel named Pam. It's actually his wife who's pregnant with their child. Not giving any spoilers away of that because you obviously see this in the trailer. He works currently for Karen Greer. She's high up in the military, and she's portrayed by actress Jodie Turner-Smith. And I think she does a pretty good job in this role as well. I'm going to get into some cons later on, but let's just get into the movie. Now, I read the reviews before I saw the movie, and there's a lot of love and hate. It's kind of more rotten on Rotten Tomatoes than it is fresh. And I can see why, and I'm going to get into it. First of all, did I enjoy the movie? Yes, I actually enjoyed the movie. It's an action-packed movie with some action scenes that you haven't seen before. There's some real original scenes in this movie, and I won't give them away, but there's action scenes that you can't compare to any other movie. It's very original. Similar to that of The Equalizer when I did my review on that. Very original scenes there. So I quite enjoyed that. So in the movie itself, and I'm not going to try and give any spoilers away as mentioned, but again, the trailer already gave some spoilers away. So he is married. He's a Special Forces soldier, came back from a mission, dealing with some terrorists with his team. He's on a top secret kind of covert team, liaisoning with the CIA. Returning home, though, some bad guys basically storm his house, and they brutally murder his wife and unborn child, as well as, near fatally kill him. He ends up surviving, and now he is basically hell-bent on going after the persons responsible for his wife's death while utilizing his skills. So in this movie, he liaisons with a CIA operative named Robert Ritter, played by Jamie Bell. Jamie Bell was a young actor in previous movies, and he does an okay performance in this, and I'll lead into the cons and why that is. Lauren London plays his wife, Pam Kelly, and then there's various bad guys throughout the movie. Guy Pearce is a senior CIA director in this movie by the name of Secretary Clay, and he's kind of a dark character in this show as well. Other supporting actors actually is Coleman Domingo, who's from Fear the Walking Dead. Really good guy, really good actor. and he plays, I believe, a relative of John Kelly's by the name of Pastor West. So he's kind of a side character in this movie. So let's get into it. So again, there's plenty of action scenes. I'm an action junkie myself, so I like action movies. The action was pretty good, was pretty well shot. It takes place in various parts of the world involving Russia. And there's a bit of a subplot of United States versus Russia. So I'll get into that in a minute. So there's two elements of this movie that are important to make it successful. One is there has to be really good action, but there also has to be a very good story and a plot. And being a Tom Clancy movie adaptation, but also having Tom Clancy's name in the actual title, Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, the bar is already set high for a decent story, very good story. Similar to Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear Present Danger. Actually, you know, the Jack Ryan TV series, very good storyline to that as well, season 1 and season 2. So the bar is already set high for that. The story is a bit of a hot mess, I will admit. The plot, there's a few different plot holes in this this movie, you know, and some unrealistic type of story as well. That's where my problem is with this movie. Having said that, though, the action is almost continuous in this movie. You truly are enjoying it. The 2 hours goes by. The 2 hour running time goes by fairly quick in this movie. But there's not a lot of character development in this movie. For example, the relationship between John Kelly and his wife, Pam. I mean, she is literally taken out of the movie, I would say, in the first 20 minutes. She's gone. And you do see that he's torn up over her death. I mean, that's what drives him to go after and hunt down these people responsible. But you haven't really got a character development here, so you don't feel for her as much. Maybe if there had been some flashbacks to the relationship more in the movie, that might have, you know, made up for that part of the story for sure. As far as the villains go, they kind of go back and forth. You think this guy is a villain, now it goes this villain. And I just felt the story was kind of rushed. I felt that they were trying to go for action here, number one. Story was sort of a number two on their back burner here. But you really do need a story to make this successful, as well as a true Tom Clancy movie. So I can see where the critics are panning this based on that alone. I mean, the story is fairly weak. You know, it's a typical revenge tale. But it does pick up towards the end. There's a mid-end credit scene there that leads into the sequel. And there's a term he says in that sentence he says, and it leads right into obviously the title for the next movie, which you'll know what it is if you're a Tom Clancy fan. And you also see his character develop and why he becomes John Clark, which is his new assumed identity in the novels, in the future movies, as well as in this movie. He becomes John Clark. He's John Kelly in the beginning, but he becomes John Clark. And there's a reason why, and they explain. So they explain that really well. But again, the plot just goes back and forth. I mean, there's some plot holes. I mean, to give you an example, he goes to, you know, take out a heavily bodyguarded guy in a restaurant. He's got bodyguards everywhere, goes into the bathroom. It's a typical bathroom scene. When he walks in, you know what's coming next. And of course, Michael B. Jordan is able to successfully get him out, not only out of the bathroom, but get him out of the restaurant. You don't know how the bodyguards didn't see this. So there's a bit of that plot. There's a bit of plot problems there as well. The other scene in this movie that, you know, maybe it was just my television perhaps, but there was a scene involving Michael B. Jordan combating certain soldiers in a building in Russia. And it was very dark. I really couldn't tell what was happening next, how he got out of the building. I mean, it made sense when you finally see him get away from that building, but it's in the actual building itself, it was a little confusing, chaotic as far as how the action went. But that's my only con for the action itself. The action overall was pretty unique, was original. There's a scene in one of the action sequences where a flashlight rolls around on the floor. I like that scene. That was pretty cool. Never seen that before. Interesting to throw that in there. So let's get into the characters too, the other cons here. You know, Jamie Bell is a very youthful looking actor, and I couldn't help but see him in those previous youth movies that he did. I mean, he's only 34, 35, and he's, by the end of the movie, he's kind of promoted to a very high ranking position in the CIA, which I kind of felt was unbelievable. The other problem I had too was the fact that Jodie Turner-Smith, who plays Karen Greer, is fairly young as well, and she's, you know, obviously made it up to another high ranking position as well. So there's a lot of youthful people in this movie that are in very high ranking positions that you would think maybe the person would be about 50 years old, maybe not 30 or 35 or whatever. So there's a couple holes there as well. But other than that, the supporting cast were really good. Guy Pearce was good in it, but Michael B. Jordan steals the show. I mean, he really is convincing here as John Kelly / John Clark. He's done his research. Apparently his father in real life used to be a Marine, so he has some experience there, but he went through a boot camp before they filmed this movie. And the action sequences are very convincing. His tactics are good. I did a review on another movie that recently came out called SAS Red Notice. Night and day. The tactics in this movie were very good. That movie was not very good at all. But the tactical situations he is involved in this movie, he deals with it bang on. So I like that. So at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. It's not for everybody. I know if you're going in looking for a very interesting, convincing storyline, you may be disappointed. But if you're going in looking for a good shoot 'em up action show or action movie for 2 hours, it's good. I liked it. So given the fact the story was weak, but the action was good, I'm going to give it a rating out of 1 to 10. I'm going to give Without Remorse a rating of 6 out of 10. Now, if it was just strictly action, I give it a 9 out of 10. But I'm giving it 6 out of 10 based on a weak plot, weak storyline. If the storyline had been better, or maybe they wanted to break this up into 2 movies to explain the story even better, have more character development, this would be a 9 out of 10 for sure for me. So it was disappointing, the lack of storyline there. And again, I don't believe it's any of the actors' faults. Whoever made this adaptation, that's who's responsible for that. The actors deliver pretty good performances in this movie. Am I excited to see the sequel that's inevitably going to come out? Absolutely. I'm very excited about that. I can see this character really being developed. As well, it'd be nice to see him eventually pop up in the Jack Ryan series as per the previous movies and previous novels. So again, Without Remorse, it's a great violent action movie if you like action movies. If you're looking for a storyline, yeah, it's a little lacking there. But still, I recommend it. I give it a 6 out of 10. Check it out. It's on Amazon Prime right now. Running time's approximately 2 hours. And let me know what you think in my review in the comments below. Subscribe, like my channel. Take care. See ya.